welcome to another episode of the Hoopsfix Podcast with me, your host Sam Neat, a full-time British basketball advocate. We have a very, very, very special guest on the show this week. GB Olympian and English Commonwealth Games medalist Azania Stewart, aka Z, came in and joined us, and we discussed everything to do with her basketball career to date, and actually started with a very special announcement as she announced her retirement from the game. So obviously tons to talk about, and it proved to be an awesome, fascinating conversation, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Before we get into this week's show, as always, we need to do our customary sponsor message. We are sponsored by ourselves. We now have a Patreon account that can be found at patreon.com/hoopsfix. That's patreon.com/hoopsfix. And there, if you like the work that we're doing, if you like the contributions we're making to the British basketball media landscape, you can sign up to donate a very, very small amount of money every single month, which helps support our work and ideally help us become 100% independent, so we don't need to rely on subsidising Hoopsfix through our freelance work. So check out Patreon, that's patreon.com/hoopsfix, and any support you can provide us or help support the show would be massively appreciated. Anyway, that is enough from me. We go for about an hour and a half in this week's episode. Have a listen. As always, would love to hear your feedback, love to hear your thoughts. Either leave comments or you can email me on sam@hoopsfix.com or reach out on every single social media profile at Hoopsfix. So anyway, here is my conversation with Azania Stewart. Azania, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on. I think we want to start with a special announcement. So kind of tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, my last 2 games for Great Britain are coming up here next couple of weeks. And I'm officially hanging it up, putting the boots up. And yeah, just kind of, celebrating my career and my achievements. And for the last game on the 17th of November is really my family and friends, and I'm having a little, 100th cap celebration. So really excited for it.
How are you feeling about, facing a future without playing basketball?
I feel okay already. I live in Denver, Colorado, and I've already started coaching high school and being in, college environments, giving back and helping as many, ladies as I can. Obviously, they're not British, but it's where I am right now. So I've kind of transitioned away from the game. I didn't sign overseas this year, and I had a great season last year with Latvia, and they asked me back, and a great team. But I just knew I wanted the time away, and obviously I've had to transition differently to train for these GB games. But yeah, I don't feel, everyone's like, are you nervous, or, do you miss it? I miss the girls, I have such a big bond with my teammates, but I don't miss the game. So it's time.
I was going to say, like, anyone sort of looking, you're 29 now.
Yeah.
So you still have a few years left if you wanted to carry on playing.
Don't retire.
So why now?
I just feel good about it. I knew, where my body was, how I felt, how I was playing, and it just got harder. Living overseas is not easy, and as I've started to get older, and I'm engaged, I want a family, I'm getting married, and I just miss my family and stuff like that. So I've dedicated a lot of time, and I've been away. I moved away at 16 to go to America, and that's from 16 to 29. I've just been on the grind. Basketball's life. So that's pretty much, I'm at a good stage. So when people think, yeah, you're young, but I've been going a very long time.
And when you look at kind of what's next, I did one of the interviews that I dug up. Actually, it was before you went to Florida, and at that point you said at that point you said you'd be interested in potentially being like a sideline reporter and stuff.
Yeah, I did. I still would love to do that.
Really?
Yeah, I still love the game. I watch a lot of NBA or the EuroLeague girls, or I still watch a lot of basketball. I'm still consumed and love it. So yeah. I would love to do that.
But then you're also making the transition to coaching at the moment.
Yeah, but I don't know. I never thought I would be a good coach. I would have to coach at a higher level. I'm struggling at high school level, but more and more I'm like, I could probably do this. I don't think I could be a head coach. I'd be a great assistant. But it's just my passion. On the court, I'm the same. I'm just like, rah, and just like shouting. And so I don't know. I'm starting to enjoy it. I'm playing with them. I'm a player coach, and that's what's keeping me. I'm getting ready for GB. You know, I'm not a sideline coach, so I'm in the moment, and so I can teach them. Okay, look, you need to, pivot this way, do this. So it's quite hands-on instead of sideline.
I was going to say you're prep for these upcoming GB games. You know, how difficult is that? I mean, it must be very different when you're not actually playing professionally at the moment.
It's been very different, and I'm excited, nervous. I'm never nervous, but I'm nervous for these games because obviously I haven't been in a day-to-day, two-a-day grind. My body's, just tired. But it's kind of like, this is it, balls to the wall kind of thing. Like, I have nothing to hold back for. I'm not going back to a team, so I can really give my all to these next 10 days in the practices and then the games. So I've been transitioning. I'm doing a lot of like yoga, Pilates, bar classes, swimming, biking, and then playing the basketball on the side. So it's less stressful training than that some people know the day-to-day, wake up at 8 or 7 sometimes and 2 a day. So yeah.
We'll get into the details, I think, of everything that you've kind of gone through in your career, but I guess sort of at a higher level, looking back now, when you look back at sort of what basketball's done for you, your basketball career, what it means to you, how would you summarize it? What would you say to somebody?
Man, it's been my life, and it's weird because every year something else happens and you transition and you grow and you look back at all your years and you're like, whoa, I wish I knew what I know now back then, would help me, because my IQ is completely different. And what I'm teaching these college girls is like, you need to be like a beast, you need to be demanding, you need to be the best on the court. And I didn't really have that until later on in my career. But I just kind of learn over time, like, what I bring to the game. It's not my stats, I'm not going to give you 20 points and 20 rebounds, but I give you the Z effect pretty much. I'm going to give you commitment. I'm going to get the girls ready. I'm going to, give you my all and my energy. And as I grew older, that was kind of my selling point. My selling point wasn't my stats, it was what coaches needed, kind of the bond and the gel for the girls to really, play hard and get to, the wins. So
are there things that you feel that you've taken from basketball in terms of life lessons that you're going to carry forward into, whatever's next?
Yeah, everything. Teamwork, commitment, leadership. It's so weird, like, to kind of move forward from basketball, but when I start to have kids or the mental side of it, everything is every day is still part of, it's me, but it's crazy to think that this is, I don't know, it's not it, because I know I'm going to still be a part of it. There's going to be something that's going to always pull me back to the game. So yeah.
How much, in particular your GB teammates kind of telling you, no, don't go yet.
I know, I love them. They're really my sisters. I've played with some of them for over 10 years. So it's going to be hard, but they'll probably understand. They're all kind of, especially the vet girls, we've all been in it for a long time, and kind of they understand the transition, and they're probably going to be behind me very soon. So, but it's that's what I kind of miss from the game. It's just kind of, hanging out with them, bonding, talking about whatever's going on in our lives and supporting each other. And we speak to each other all out throughout the year. So I know it's going to be hard. They're going to definitely be, nudging me to play the Euros if we qualify, which we will.
And the next one, is your 100th cap. Is that, when you look at that now, you're like, wow, 100. Is it mad how quickly the time's gone and how many games that you've now, played for GB?
It's gone really quickly, and different. I've been through like the start kind of it, and then now into a different transition. We back in the beginning, we played a lot of games. We were traveling a lot. We did a lot of tours, and now it's kind of slowed down where it's in the November and the February, because however they've changed it, which at first we hated that. We're like, why are we doing that? But once you're in the season grind, you're like, oh my God, I love this break. Like, you get to go home, you see your friends, get a bit of English food, you can speak English, and you take that all for granted when you go to, I played in Hungary, and you sit there, or Spain, you know what I mean? And you just kind of you know, and you just feel like, oh, I miss it. And that's why I think the GB girls we just get together and we're like, oh God, this is so easy, you know. So I don't know, it's just, I'm really excited for this upcoming games to see them all.
You know, when we talk about the 100 cap, I said to you on the way up here that you know, I did speak to John Atkinson briefly to kind of find out where you stood all time, and you're sitting in fourth after this game, obviously. You know, I think when people look back on sort of all-time greats, you're clearly an instrumental figure in British basketball history.
Yeah, that's wild to think.
It's wild to think, right?
Yeah.
Is there any part of you that feels that has gone unrecognised or just maybe overlooked a little bit because of the fact that you're not going to go out there and put up 20 and 15 or whatever? You know, you bring the intangibles.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I definitely will be missed once I leave. But no, that's not really who I am. You know, I'm not here for the big hoorah. It's just a celebration of what I've done, and I'm proud of that. And I've pushed so many, you know, I've been in the media, I've cried on TV, done it all, but that's just my passion for the game and my country and where the sport's going, where it's gone backwards, forwards, you know, all of that. And all the politics part, I was kind of got sucked into it, you know, to help you know, push it back, and then I said, you know what, that's not my job. You know, my job is to play well, to keep pushing us forward, to now win a medal in the Commonwealth Games. That's Azania. I don't need to be answering questions about whatnot. It's just, here, let me show you where the game's going, what I've done, and what I can, and you know, and that's what I kind of decided to do, is just do me.
Obviously, that you mentioned here, that 2015 interview, which I think was
went viral, probably.
it went. Yeah. It was blown up a lot. Which was, it was on the BBC, I think, and you were talking about the sort of the funding struggles that basketball's had, and you got very emotional.
It was so weird because it just like he was talking about it, and I think like a trigger word. He was like, "Yeah, it's over, isn't it?" And I was like, "What?" Like, and it just was like, it's not over, and kind of that set me off. And I'm very emotional anyway. And that alone, I was just like, oh my God, it's not going to be over. I'm going to put in it. That's what really set me off. But yeah, this kind of, I was over the politics side, the funding, the money, blah, 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 whatever they wanted to do. For me, it was just like, I've just got to show you. I've just got to show you where we are. We're respected in the basketball world. And that's all I could do.
I think that, you know, when you look at the GB program over the last sort of decade or so, you know, the women in many cases have actually performed a lot better than the men.
Always.
You know, how much is it a struggle for you guys? You know, when you're going out, like taking scalps, you know, having big games, pushing big, you know, powerhouse teams to the limit, but then coming back and kind of not getting the love from the media, not getting the press coverage, the sport still struggling with funding. Yeah. You know, how frustrating has it been for you and the team?
Yeah, it's been very frustrating. But like I said, we just have to show we won the first medal, and probably, maybe, hopefully not the last. But it's, you know, we're not having basketball in Birmingham for the next Commonwealth Games. There you go. From how do we win a medal, and then how do we, you know, defend that title? It's been hard. I think, you know, we were, I don't know, 49th at one spot, pulled it back to 25th in the world or something like that. And it was just about working hard. And at the beginning, we were playing, even in the Olympic Games, we lost to France, right? And they won the silver medal in the Olympic Games. And
that was a 3-point loss in overtime.
In overtime, right? And it was just learning how to win, you know, and we'd never been in these situations. And for me, it was like, to show these people, if you haven't won a medal, then you're not worthy of this money. And it's like, you don't understand. GB basketball is really young, and now obviously we're kind of getting older. But you just have to show, you know, that USA, the Europeans, the Eurobasket is the biggest chunk of teams that go to the Olympic Games, go to the World Cup. It's massive, and it's really a hard competition. And just to keep pushing and being respected, you know, the other teams respect us. They know it, you know. So, and it's just a shame that the higher don't see it, and it's all about the men's game, you know. But I mean, it's highlights. It's the same with the WNBA right now. They're pushing to be paid more and see more, and I don't know what else to say to be out there other than to just graft and show your end goal. Who else has got a medal?
Yeah. I think the cultural thing in the UK is definitely one of the toughest barriers, because we, you know, at the higher levels in government and stuff, people just don't get it.
Get it. And that's tough. You know, that's tough. And we did the whole push of like, you know, going into schools. We did loads of stuff, you know, helping out. It's the cheapest sport pretty much known to man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really something you can teach kids: leadership, you know, confidence. I say to kids, my education's been paid for. I've traveled the world, all because of this ball.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And there's so many opportunities that you can get from it. Even though, look how many women have done so well from GB, even with, you know, our backs against the wall and not being supported. And if we did, how much would, you know, where would we flourish to? Where would we be? So I don't know. Just like I said, we just keep showing our worth, I think, so they can have something to talk about.
When you look back on your time of GB in particular, what would you say have been the highest highs and the lowest lows? The things that stick out when you look back on your international career?
The lowest, to start with the bad stuff, the lowest is definitely losing by a few points and learning, you know, that Olympic experience was so emotional for me. Obviously it was a great experience. We're at home. I want to do well. I was in the best shape of my life, I would say. Like, gave up, you know, the alcohol, the sweets, all the stuff that, you know, to make you feel great. And we had a great team, and I think we had a really long training camp. We started in April or May, and then we hit peak too early, because we had played every team minus Brazil beforehand. And back then we were really kind of like the shock, like, oh my God, GB, who the hell are they? We're going to work till, you know, we'll kind of just a never give up team. And I think that was our downfall, looking back at it, playing them before the games.
Interesting.
So I always kind of, you know, feel sad about that we didn't get a win, because people are like, oh, how did you do? Did you win a medal?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, actually I lost every game, which sounds terrible. But if you look at the sheet, like you said, we lost 3 in overtime to France. We played Australia great, Russia, you know. And so, but then you go on to the positives of that. I played in London, you know, in front of my family, with Great Britain, yet another, again, a historical moment. Do we go back to an Olympic Games? I'm not sure, you know.
Yeah.
So that was such a great high for me. And then obviously recently winning the silver medal, Commonwealth Games, was quite up there.
Yeah.
It was a very last minute decision for the Commonwealth Games, because I was in season with my Riga team, and we were in the Euro Cup, and I wasn't sure how far. We won our stage, and so we'll go into the next round, and I wasn't sure if I was going to have time, so I didn't even put it in my contract. So I was like, kind of like, I'm not going to commit to it.
Interesting.
So I wasn't going at first. And then as the season kind of went on and it was slowing down and we were coming into the Latvian finals, I was like, actually, I think I could actually do this. Like, I can fit in. So I spoke to GM coaches, and they were like, yeah, we can make this happen. So I actually played a game, left, flew to Australia, played those games, flew back, and then finished the finals. So it was quite, it was quite intense.
Did you miss games with your club then?
Yeah, I missed, not too many. I missed the final, the semis series.
You ended up winning the title.
We did.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we won.
Unbelievable. And so you're like, I always found that there always seems to be a bit of a battle between club and country. You know, clubs generally want to keep the best, like keep their players safe and not injured and whatever. Yeah. Obviously, players generally want to play for their country where possible. It's amazing that, you know, the clubs seem to be okay with that.
Yeah. No, they were good. They're really supportive. And I also stressed to them at the beginning, this is probably going to be my last season. So they knew that. And obviously they were like, can we say anything to get you back and take the summer off? They're an awesome club.
Yeah.
I shout out to TT Riga because they were probably my favorite club. And I kind of, I knew it was coming to an end. So for me, it was important to actually go with the girls, and also the leadership. It was a very we weren't going to have a prep.
Yeah.
It was very kind of shoved together last minute. Let's take this team. So I knew it was going to be important that I went with them.
Yeah.
And what was also cool was my dad. I told my dad, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, like I'm thinking I'm going to go to Australia." He's like, "Oh, so we're going to Australia?" I was like, "We?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go." My dad's the most laid back, Rasta guy. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to Australia." And we made a trip of it. He came out with me and supported me and saw me on the podium. And that was great. And my mum was giving him, giving a bit of slack, like, "Oh, you're not coming to a 100th game?" And he was like, "I just went out to Australia and saw her win a silver medal." I think that would do, because he goes to Jamaica. He's loving his life. So that was a really cool moment with me and my dad to experience that, and for him to actually see me win the medal.
Obviously in the final you matched up against Australia, who are just absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
I guess going into a game like that where you're massive underdogs.
I've never been so excited to lose. First of all, by like 40, I was so happy. I was like, woo. But going into that game, we knew, because remember they were a stacked squad, right? They were getting ready for the World Cup. So even in the first rounds when we played them, we knew Chema was very smart. He said, "This is a practice game for us. Everyone's going to play. You need to find your role. You got to play hard. We got to execute our plays or defense. Even if we lose, we knew we were going to lose." I knew that if we played really well with the team that we went with, we could squeeze a bronze, right? So I knew I had to get us together somehow, right? And he knew that. He knew that Australia was very strong. They had 4 or 5 WNBA players. So we knew that. And then even going into the final, right? We beat Canada. That was our final. That was our final for sure. And then going into the finals against Australia it's an awesome feeling knowing, win or loss, you go home with a medal, right? You don't want to be in that 4th place where you lose and you go home with nothing. And it was just weird, emotional, like, I'm just going to play hard. I'm going to commit. I'm going to, do my jersey, my team, my dad, my family proud. And that's all you can do, right? And we just played hard and enjoyed it. And I've never lost and danced after. So we knew they were better than us, and that's not what we were going there for. We were going to prove a point, obviously winning the second best medal you can win, be on the podium, support and show what Great Britain basketball, English basketball is about. So
when you came back home after that with that medal, obviously I don't know, but like, was there did you feel there was any type of switch with the media in terms of like, you potentially got interview opportunities, or they wanted to give you a bit of sort of press coverage?
No, netball killed our shine.
Netball.
They absolutely killed it, and they deserve it, because
Yeah.
obviously they played awesome. They won by 1 point, and even the same with the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games, everyone kind of like got around each other and supported each other, and so we didn't really have a long time to shine because netball took the shine. But, and then also it kind of made it difficult because we went straight back into season. So I landed in London at 7 a.m. and then I got a 5:30 flight to Riga. So what interview was going to happen there, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was nice. Like I did a lot of appearances in schools, in primary schools and secondary schools once I came back, which was really nice. I really appreciated those teachers reaching out to me. So it was really like my own work, kind of just showing the medal, inspiring them, talking about my experience. I did a little camp with them, and it was great. And that's probably the most, yeah.
You mentioned there, obviously, netball getting all the shine. Now, am I right in thinking you were originally a netball player before you made the switch?
I was.
So is there any point of you that thinks, if I'd stayed with netball...
No, it was different. I started netball because my mum used to play netball, so that's how I got into it. And I didn't know about basketball. I had no idea about basketball. And in year 7, you try everything. You do. I was doing the mile run, like, you know what I mean, like 450. I was doing it all. Discus. I was just trying it all just to find my niche, kind of. And then also it's just a fun thing in, you know, in secondary, your friends, you get to leave school early, all this stuff. And netball I was really getting into, and we had a really nice squad we were nice with. So, but that taught me the team game, because you can't dribble. You need all 7 players, you know, to win the game. So I think I really appreciate netball that taught me the team aspect. And then I went to play a netball game at Greg City, and that's when Dan Bowmaker picked me up. He was like, "Oh no, you're coming to one of my practices." I was like, "Oh, okay." So, and that's how I started basketball, and I was terrible. I was shocking, absolutely shocking, because I was 6'4" by I was 16. I was this height by I was 16. So, he saw. So what was I? 13.
Yeah.
When he first saw me, I must have been like, I don't know, 5'11", 6 foot. And so he scouted me. He was like, "Look, come to my practices, see how." I couldn't catch the ball hit my face. Like, I was like, am I sure? do I really want to do this? But like I said, again, I've got girlfriends that are still my friends, that to this day from that team, you know, a sisterhood that I would never forget, and I'm going to live with, you know, and they've got kids, and we hang out, catch up, and that's from when I was 12.
So did you, what school were you at?
I was at Alexandra Palace, APS.
Did you move over to Greg City?
No, I didn't.
So you stayed there,
travelled, yeah.
And then you played for the club Haringey Angels.
Yeah.
And so I get, you know, Haringey Angels has got a bit of a reputation, obviously, you know, across the UK. So I think for people that don't know, kind of, you know, how big is Haringey Angels in the sort of the women's basketball scene as a club? Especially
on North London side, like massive. You know, Dan Bowmaker and Phil did a great job, you know, getting us prepared, and it became, as that kind of wave of, you know, Josette, Marashi, Kashmir, there was a massive wave of girls who were pretty good and at a high level that could go over to America, and they really taught us everything. You know, they taught us how to be dedicated, to take stuff seriously, and I really owe it to them, because without them I wouldn't have started basketball. But that going to Greg City was, you know, and we went all the way up to is it Space still? Is it
Space? Hackney.
In Hackney, yeah. You know, and I lived in North London. I had to get the 67 bus, you know, and it took an hour to get there. I didn't get dropped off. It was commitment, you know, get on that bus at whatever it was, 7:00, take the hour, you know, and it was just kind of just my way of life. And my mum always says this to my brother. Now he's getting older, but you know, I never forced your sister. I never dragged her out of bed. She never drove me. She picked me up, but you know what I mean? It was very my own decision. I had to get the bus. I had to meet the, you know, minibus, whatever we were doing. It was very my own thing that I wanted to do. And that was the start of it.
Was it the moment you made that switch to basketball, was it love at first sight type thing where you just like, oh my God, I love this game, and even though you're not very good, you want to get good at it? Or kind of did that take a bit of time? Like,
it took time, because there was older girls, Alicia and Rashad, they would bitch me out and like, come on, catch the ball, and I found it really difficult. But I don't know when my love first started. I would say
it's a rare thing to be that young and be so driven, like, and be like, I'm going to do this by myself without a parent pushing you.
And I'm moving. At 16, it was like, I'm doing this. And my family were like, you know, there were so many things that I gave up and missed, you know, birthdays and weddings and births or whatever. And it was just like, no, I want to do this. And they saw that at a young age, that I kind of wanted to be this basketball player. I never thought I would get a career out of it. I don't know. It just kind of next step, like my love grew over time, you know, because I started at Angels, and it was kind of fun with the girls, and, you know, Dan always made it great for us. And then I moved to America. So then that was the next step of my life, you know. I lived an hour away from school. I used to commute hour in, hour out. So that's another commitment right there.
Yeah.
And I was at this small private school. I had a class of 77, which is tiny, you know, and then I reclassified a year. I stayed for 3 years in high school. So here I am, 19 years old, hanging out with like 60, you know what I mean? And in England, you know, you can go out, you can have a few drinks, you can hang out with your friends. In America, it's 21 to drink. And so I was put back. Yeah. So I was kind of like, what am I doing here? You know? And I kind of just persevered that journey, because the next thing was college, you know, 4 years, free ride. And that kind of pushed me to the next stage of love, and then I'm in college, and then here I am, and I'm at Florida and loving my life and having a great old time and just kind of finding myself again. And then my freshman year, I had a massive surgery, so then I kind of thought, oh well,
it was a kidney removed.
Yeah, right? Random. What the hell? Yeah, my kidney got infected, and I was back 4 weeks. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna miss the season, blah blah. I was back in 4 weeks, and I started as a freshman, and that kind of the next transition of love of the game, you know, and I was telling one of the girl at Denver University the other day is that my sophomore year, or was it my junior? I think it was my sophomore year. I was having a really bad day. I think I studied 10 hours for this test, failed, came in pissed, and the practice went to shits pretty much, right? Oh, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It went tits up. So I was like, whoa, we ran suicide's pool. So the next day, I'm like, I need to have a better attitude. Like, that really annoyed me. Let's move on. And the practice went great. And I thought, whoa, was that because of me? You know, and then the next day, on to the third, it was an experiment. I was like, let's just do it. And I was moody, right? I was in a bad mood, and it, boom, suicides, bang, right? So then I'm like, whoa, is this me? Like, this was the first time that I learned I had a power. And this is where the Z kind of effect has now transitioned to me. Is that I knew if I came in a bad mood, or if I didn't come prepared or ready, or know the scout, or have the girls riled up, we were going to run, right? And so at this age, so what am I, 20, 21? Yeah. Then this is probably my love for the game started to know that I had this effect on these other girls, my coaches, and how the practice went. And I would say then is when I really loved I don't know, it's a really weird feeling. Like, even now with GB, you can't have bad days, you know? And I was speaking to somebody on the plane randomly, and she was like, well, what do you do? Because when you have a bad day, or I'm doing so much I take on everyone's thing. And then she's like, well, how do you deal with it? I said, oh, I'll just have a cry one day, and then I'm ready back the next day. But because I'm taking so much energy and then making it into this practice or the game, it is exhausting. But I'm so tired. That's not who I am. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably where my love started, of knowing my effect on the game. And I still have that today. And that's probably what I've been paid for in my career.
So I definitely want to get into the sort of the transition to the States. But before we do, just quickly on the Haringey point. Yeah. There's obviously a lot of basketball clubs up and down the country. What do you think it is that separated Haringey to produce so many players and win so many titles? What is different? I
don't know. That's a good question. We definitely put in a lot of hours. You know, we trained, I think, probably 4 or 5 times a week, I think, back then. That's a long time ago, you are asking me to recall. But yeah, the Angels were great for many years, and I haven't followed it recently, but we've had a lot of players come out of the Angel way. I can't put my finger on it exactly why is it so been so great, but I just think how we were training and what we did, and we worked on fundamentals and catching and passing and being in the right place, and they just put us in a situation to succeed and put us in, to show off our best assets, I guess.
So when you were with the club, did you win? Did you win?
This is going back a really long time ago.
It is.
No, this was the push of, there was the Leadham sisters. So they were, Ellesmere Port had a great team.
Okay.
And did we win? I think we won the last, what was it called?
Junior Final Fours.
Yeah, but you went to RAF.
Oh, the RAF Final Fours. Yeah. Okay, we're going way back.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I was 16.
Yeah.
And I remember that was my first MVP that I won in that game. Yeah. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a long time ago.
So you moved to the States when you were 15 or 16?
16.
16. And had you represented, because you represented England under 16s, right?
Yeah.
Was that before or after you moved?
It must have been before.
Must have been before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I actually got cut. Like, I didn't make the team, and there was one time, that I didn't make a trip, and that really fired me up. I was like, that's never gonna happen again. And I remember that was still in me. Like, I'm like, I will never not make a team again. But that was when I was younger, and I hated that. I was like, what the hell? What's going on? So I did play under. I was always upper group. Like, I played, under 18s.
When you were 17.
Yeah. And then I left. That was the last tournament that we played at the RAF, and then I left.
So how did the move to the States come about?
Lauren Thomas Johnson had left the year before.
I did know this. Yeah. Yes. So you went to the same school that she went
I went to the same school, yeah. And Callum Jones had gone that year as well, or the year before that, yeah. Okay. So it kind of had a move of English players going, and that's really how it came about. And then I had a coach, Mike Teasley, who was then again my next push of getting me ready for college, and and so she went first, and then me and Josette came out the following year, and me and Lauren, that's how me and Lauren became like really close, because we all lived together in the same house. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was small 3-bedroom, and there's like 5 players, and I'm still great friends with them to this day. Yeah.
And that transition to the States, one of the interviews I did dig up was that you just really struggled with homesickness and just being so far away from home. Like, and
now I can't believe that was my only year. That first year was really hard, just being away. And I was speaking to one of my friends the other day, and I was telling her, I was like, when I moved to America, I was writing letters. Like, this makes me feel old.
Yeah.
I was writing letters my first year, and then that push of MSN Messenger and the sidekick, and the internet, that was the first time. But I was still writing letters when I first moved, and long distance calls.
Yeah.
And then that following year, the Skype and all that. And I said, when people were moving to America, the younger girls, and I was like, it's easy now. You can FaceTime, you can, boom. But back then, I was still writing letters.
So, when you went over there, did you go into your sophomore year of high school?
I did. So I reclassified as well.
The moment you went over there, or was that later on after your senior year?
I think I did my sophomore year.
Yeah.
And then reclassified, I think. Right? Yeah, and became a junior.
Okay.
I can't think it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did 3 years, but I was only supposed to do 2. But I'm so glad he did, because I wouldn't have been ready. My body wasn't ready. I was still developing. I was a late bloomer, and I needed more time. Especially, what was nice about the next transition into Notre Dame was that he got us ready for the college game. So we were lifting, we're doing the study hall, we're doing lots of hours on court. So that really got me ready for the next part. But yeah, that first year was really tough. And I think we were traveling an hour back and forth. So that kind of just killed us. Like I said, no FaceTime. It just became really hard. And then I was really fortunate. I got a host family, who are still my families today. And this girl, Hayley, she came up to me at school and was like, hey, I would love for you to live with me. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I just thought it was just, this typical American girl, like, hey. And then a couple of days later, her mum came up to me and was like, like Hayley told me, she was the only child. She's like, we have a spare room. You're more than welcome. And her brother was working in London, in England, and they were coming over that summer. So that summer, my family, we met at the brother's house, and we had dinner. So it wasn't like I was moving into this random person's house.
Yeah.
And then we met. And so then I moved, now 10 minutes away from school. Such a turnaround, really enjoying it. Kind of, obviously, like I said, I was older than the rest of my students. And she kind of just helped me, developed me, and just kind of made life a bit easier.
So on the court, how did you find the transition from the English game to the American game?
I don't know. It wasn't too hard.
Really?
No, I don't think so. It was just more fundamentals, like making sure and I had a great team. I'm talking about we were top 3-5 in the country of high school.
Right.
So that really helped. I had great players around me to make me successful. I think it was just more the hours, you know. We literally lived at school, you know. We finished study hall, we waited to get on the court, we practiced, we got home 8:30, 9 o'clock, boom, turn around, do it again. So already at high school, I was doing a lot of hours.
Yeah.
But I can't remember us struggling. It was just more my body. Like I just had to get it together.
Did you, when you first went to the States, did you know that you wanted the next step was to try and get a college scholarship? Did you know about that kind of world?
Yeah.
And at what point, were you thinking about it? And then when did the schools sort of start coming?
Yeah, I was so fortunate and so blessed because my high school team got a lot of attention because we were playing the Maya Moores teams. We were going to great tournaments that put me in situations to be looked at. And then you play a summer ball called AAU, and I was playing yet again another great team. It was Boo Williams at the time.
Okay.
Very high, high up their team. So everyone, I remember going to this game, playing this game, and the court was packed of every college coach sat round the rim of the gym, right? And I literally was like, Duke, Maryland, Florida, everyone was coming to these Boo Williams games, or everyone was coming to this Phoenix tournament with my high school. So I had this perfect platform to just play, not worry. And when I moved to my host family, that's when the letters. So that was my junior year is when they can send. I had bin bagfuls of letters that hi, blah blah blah. And that's when it kind of started of like where my host mum wanted me to go to the Virginia school because that's where my school was. She was like, please go to UVA. It's such a prestigious school and I'll be at every game. And she's awesome. And she came to all my high school games. She was my mum. Like she took care of me and treated me like her own.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt over Virginia. I wanted to move. And that's where my kind of first, spark of like I want to explore, I want to travel, I want to, and I knew, and that's how I actually wasn't supposed to go to Florida. I was supposed to go to UNC Charlotte. So Amanda Butler was at UNC Charlotte, and so I was getting ready to commit because I was the whole big fish small pond, whatever. Yeah. I was like, I want to go to a small school. I want to and she called me. She's like, oh, I've got really bad news. And I was like, oh, what? She's like, oh, I'm not coaching at Charlotte anymore. I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, thanks for your help. She's like, but I got the job at Florida. And I was like, oh, well, in that case. And then I still took my 4 visits because I wanted to just see my options. So I did take my Virginia Tech and UVA.
Okay.
That was awkward. I got dropped off at UVA and Virginia Tech picked me up. So I was like, oh, thanks. But it was a great experience. And I would recommend girls at least taking 2 visits to 3 because it is quite tiresome and you've got to travel and you've got to do the whole spiel. So I would definitely say at least take 3. And then I did my Florida visit, and then I also visited Miami because I love the coach there, Katie. She's still there. But when I was at Miami and she offered me the scholarship, we're sitting down and we're at this like lake kind of area, and she's talking to me, and an alligator pops up in the background in the pond, swims through her ear and goes down, and I'm literally like, I can't go to Miami. Like, Florida. It was a sign. And literally I seen it, boom, boom, and I'm like, yes, no thanks.
Wow.
And I committed like pretty much right after that.
What a story.
Yeah.
The that recruiting process,
it's hard.
I find it fascinating. Because you hear all the stories and stuff, like, you're getting bags of letters.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you probably, phone calls, like, everyone trying to reach out to you.
And stuff, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's definitely difficult. And also what was nice is that obviously parents get involved. I obviously had my host mum saying, I really want you to do this. But a lot of parents put pressure on like where they went to school or where they think you should go. But I really didn't have that. It was really 100% my decision, which my whole career has been my decision. My parents have always just supported me. But they've never known the game. They don't know anything other than you're doing great or you're sad or you know what I mean? Yeah. Other than what I tell them, all my decisions have been my own. Yeah. But that recruiting, that is hard. It's difficult because you're like, you don't want to let people down, right? And you feel you're committed, or you say you're going to go this school and then you really like this, or the coach leaves. It's stressful. It's a time, and especially at, 17, 18, to decide your future is quite, it's daunting. But I always just say, where do you feel comfortable? And you have to go, you're going to that school. Not only are you playing for that team, you're going to that school. And that's what I loved about Florida. The teams were just a bond, like a full kind of like, the frats and this, but it was really, we all went to the football games, they all came to basketball, we went to volleyball. It was just a real, like, because you eat with these people, you study with them, you see them every day, not only your team but the full scope. So I always try and tell people, like, really feel out the school, because you have to go there, you're going to school every day, you have to live there. So really see what it's all about, because you're going to spend 4 years there.
And then, your senior year at high school, you're obviously by that point getting sort of national attention, like you're big time.
Yeah.
I think in terms of sort of awards and stuff, I think I read like, were you like Hoop Girls All American, and Hoop Girls was an ESPN affiliate, or did it become ESPN Women? There's some sort of link with ESPN.
Post, yeah, it did. I was one of the top players up there.
And
but I came out of an era of a great push of players. So in my area, there was some really good players.
Did you feel? I mean, I guess even now, like you look back, kind of where you started, barely being able to pick up ball, whatever, and then a few years later you're in the States, and kind of there's all these big time college coaches coming after you. You're getting all these sort of accolades and recognition, media attention. Like, how did you handle that?
Every day is a new day. Like, I'm still very humble about it all. I worked hard, and I always played a piece to a puzzle. I wasn't the best player, I never have. And so I'm just that piece that slots in to help. I've played with top players. So it was nice to have, I guess, the recognition and stuff like that, but I didn't care. That's not who I am, and that's not what I wanted, and I didn't care for it. So when those things were happening, I was like, great, okay, next game, where are we going? And where are we traveling to? So all these accolades that you're pulling out, is like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, I won that, or, I was recognized for that. But,
Where do you think the self-awareness comes from to kind of be able to step outside of yourself and say, oh, do you know what? I'm not this type of player. This is what I am. I'm going to go out and do the dirty work, or do this or do that. I feel like, especially in the UK, there is a lot of egos floating around, and there's people that I feel could be a lot better if they accepted a role rather than trying to be all and everything and be the man or whatever. Where do you think the self-awareness came from to kind of recognize where you could find a niche?
Probably my parents.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're really chill and relaxed, and that's kind of how I approach some things. But I have a passion and I'm a born leader. You can't teach these things. It's so true. I was just a leader, and I knew that whatever team or whatever situation, what do we need? And it's so important. You're so right. The whole ego thing, and the teams that do well, is just, what's your role? And I try in my teaching now mind is, if you don't take that open shot and it's your shot, is that selfish? Because you're looking off, or everyone, can you hit the mid-range jumper? Yes. Is that your shot? Yes. Why didn't you take it? Now that, you know what I mean? And I don't know, just kind of, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, the self-awareness is just over time, I think, because, like I said, I'm not going to give you 20 into it. I might give you a rare, but it's just about working hard, and I don't know, you're so right. You're making me think, like, self-assess, but the awareness is just, what do we need today? In the practice, or who's coming up. The scout is so important, and it's just, what can I do? Okay, let's do it.
So when you stepped onto college campus,
it's
a big time school.
Yeah.
How was that as an experience? Looking back on it now.
Yeah. I remember my recruiting. No, when I went for a visit to Florida, and Joakim Noah was still there.
Okay.
And I went with my dad. My dad came over, and we walked into the gym, and he said, "It's a great day." It's like, he said this like massive, inspiring kind of quote that my dad will never forget. And what sucked is that I look kind of like Noah's sister. So like I used to wear my hair out curly, now I wear it in the bun, but and everyone's like, oh, are you know what I mean? I'm like, no. And then also I had she played volleyball, but her dad won a championship with the Celtics, and I look similar like her. Like, oh, congratulations, tell your dad. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? And then I finally meet this girl and I'm like, oh my gosh, I do look similar. So when I first got onto campus, I had Joakim Noah's sister or congratulations to your dad who's just won an NBA championship. I'm like, what is going on here? But it was fun. It was a really good time of just kind of, it was a lot of hours. Again, waking up at 6, trying to find my way as a freshman and balancing school. And yet again, it's all about scheduling and trying to keep everything in place. And that's when you have a good time, is that you've done your work on the court, and now I can have social. It's really finding this balance of success is really balancing it all, and that's what's difficult.
There's a guy that always says that his thing is like discipline equals freedom. It's like if you can stay disciplined, then that gives you the freedom to be able to do the things you want to do. Or if you're a bit all over the place, trying to juggle it all makes it a lot more difficult.
And I'm not the smartest, so I had to put in loads of work. I had to study. I had a tutor. I had loads of things. Like I had to put in extra work in the classroom. Like it didn't just come to. I had a girl who like sometimes would miss class and she'll get the like cheat sheet notes. It's called Smart Notes. She would read that and she would ace this test. And I'm like, and I would think, oh yeah, I can get these. Fail. I had to go to class. I had to, you know what I mean? I had to put the hours in that way. I had to put the hours in on court to be successful. And it's tough. It really was tough. But then again, when I look back at it, it's like, well, I was set up to succeed. There's so many things. You're fed. You got a tutor. You got this. You've got hours. You've got a strength and conditioning coach. Like, so really, it's your own failure if you don't make it. Because you've got all the pieces to be as successful as you want to be.
I was going to say, like a school like that, I would guess, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would guess that the level of provision and services, facilities that you had in many cases is probably better than what you're going to get as a professional basketball player in Europe, right?
Yeah, really, it's probably, I don't know, billions, like a lot of money goes into it. And I was happy about Florida because they were big. They won the national championship my freshman year with Tim Tebow. But the football team makes really the money. There are basketball schools, but if I always tell girls, I'm like, go to a football school because they're rich. There's a lot of money into it. There's a lot. And at that point, my freshman year also, we were top 10 in the college team. So then we were a Nike school. We got all these shoes. You know what I mean? It's just a dream. Like, you had everything you needed. That's what I'm saying. But it is, when you go to a big school, there's a lot of money filtering. There's a lot of pressure to succeed, and it's a great time. It's a really cool experience.
Do you think at the time, at that age, did you at any point sort of sit back and have the awareness of everything that you had, or is it now only kind of a few years deep you look back and you're like, wow, like it was crazy?
No, I think I was appreciative of it, because my first year we were so successful. Right, we were top 10 in the country, and then the next year we don't even make the tournament, and we don't get half the stuff that we got, and I'm like, what's going on here? But also you do, and I think now, even looking back, my school was dope. Like we got so much stuff, and training at this smaller school, and their budgets and. The sky's the limit, we took private jets to games. Yeah, we had a smaller private jet that we would go to, the media day before season starts. So I got on this little Florida plane. I'm like, oh yeah, this is normal, right? But Florida's got unreal amount. Yeah. And but they have a great support. They've succeeded. My years of playing at Florida, every sport won a championship.
Wow. Yeah. Do you think that being from the UK and knowing what it's like over here almost gives you a greater appreciation compared to American players.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because and that's the struggle now of a new wave is kind of everything's given to you. And back then you definitely had to work for it, but also grades was so important, especially in high school in America. I couldn't play unless my GPA was at a certain level. I couldn't practice, I couldn't play. So schoolwork and everything was so at the top, like, oh yeah, you didn't pass that test, okay, you can't play this weekend. It's like, what? So that was such a big push. And yeah, do you know what I mean? And then even when in college, the same thing. I don't know how it is now, but you had to have your schoolwork done, and then you could ball.
Looking back on your time at Florida, is there any particular games that stick out to you that are particularly memorable, and you look back on fondly?
Obviously the Pat Summitt era was awesome, and she was going for her 1,000th win, and I think we beat them for them not to get the 1,000th win.
Wow.
But then also, like, the SEC was such a great conference, and every time we went on the road, the arenas were amazing, big time. Tennessee, LSU's was awesome. And then we actually lost, but we opened Alabama's. They made it because they won football championship, so they had mad money, and they made a new gym for the women's basketball. A small little thing, but so intimate, really nice. The crowd was on top, and we opened that gym for them. They chose our game, and obviously we bloody lose. But really, they put in a lot of time and effort and love into the women's game, and they've got this Title IX thing that, whatever the man gets, the woman gets, blah blah blah. So that was really evident, like it was shown very much so in Florida, like whatever the men got, we shared. In the middle, the men had their own court, we had our own practice. This is a practice facility in the middle. Then we shared the training room and the weight room. But wow. Yeah, it's unreal. When I think about it, you're so right. I was flying private jets, like, wow, I was living the life back then.
It's crazy. I've been to a couple of schools and visited some British players there and stuff. And I mean, I went to UMass when Leah McDermott was there. Yeah. And it's just like...
And that's pretty unreal, but that's not even a top...
Yeah,
that's, like, exactly. Florida's up there of unrealness of that, what goes in. So I'm really appreciate. I still rock my Gator stuff now to this day. And
can you still get Gator stuff? Have you contacted them and just said, "Oh, can you send us some gear?"
I used to have the pool like that, but she's now the Clemson coach, so she's moved. She was there 10 years at Florida. So I don't know if my pool's the same.
I'm sure you'd be able to get
somebody.
So when obviously college career, I'm assuming by your senior year you're kind of thinking about the next step. I would guess.
Well, my senior year was going into the Olympic Games.
Do you know what? That's the other thing I wanted to say is that in a lot of the interviews that I've read, it almost seems like the Olympics was such a huge focus of yours. From the moment that we won the bid, like all the way through.
From the jump. Yeah. I knew I wanted to make the team. I knew I wanted to play, and especially it was in London. And my coach, Amanda, she was very supportive of, we always did Summer B as a team. And those were always, back then, GB times in the summertime. So I would always do Summer A on my own with the...
What is Summer A and Summer B?
It's just a preparation to get extra classes. Okay. So then once season comes, you can take less classes.
Right.
So they make you come in the summer to catch up on work, pretty much, to get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So they always made us do a certain section. But I could never do it with the team. And she was like, well, okay, I understand. This is a commitment. She actually came out to my GB game. She to the Olympics. She flew out and flew back. Yeah. And she always let me leave. Yeah, so I would do A without the rest of the team. I did it with the football girls, soccer girls.
Yeah.
And then I came to England in the summer to work out, and that was just a 4-year prep. But the first 2 years, it was kind of like, okay, this could be happening. But then my last 2 years, where it was like, it was touchable, that's when I kicked in the good, healthy eating, working out, and kind of getting my body right.
How confident were you that you were going to make the final squad? Like, did you feel there was did you feel there was a possibility that you wouldn't make the cut?
No.
No.
I knew I was going to make it. It was hard because we had an Australian coach at the time who was very tough. We were putting in a lot of hours, like probably from those 4 years from college. Remember, I didn't have a break. This is why I'm retiring, people. Like, I left from college, did the summer school, straight into GB basketball, back to college, do the same thing 4 years in a row. Last year into the Olympic Games. So those 4 years really put some miles on my body because I never took a break.
Yeah.
It was into one, into the other. And the coach at the time was really hard. And I was still finding my offensive game and trying to find what I was good at. And he used to just tell me, like, I'm shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he used to call me a dinosaur. It's just, you're a dinosaur, mate, and you're not a gazelle. And it was just like, how can I not be a dinosaur? Like, these are the things I'm thinking, like, what can I do? And I think...
this was Tom Mayer, yeah?
Yeah. I didn't really want to put his name out there, but it's Googleable. And we had some really great vets. We had Kim Butler at that time and Judy Page as post players, vets, amazing. And they were killing it, and so it was really just a supporting cast. And then he starts me in the Olympic Games. I'm thinking, what is, you know, I don't have time to even think about what is he doing, what's going to happen. I've just got a ball. I've just got to make these first 5 minutes the best I can make, you know. And I ended up starting for the Olympic Games. I think. Anyway, what do I think? Anyway, carry on.
Is it still mad for you to think that you're an Olympian?
Yeah. Because I have a tattoo of it, and people are like, is that the Olympic rings? And I'm like, oh yeah. It is mad. And it's kind of like, you know, something that a lot of people aren't a part of. And that's that wave of, I didn't win a medal, but I'm an Olympian, is winning for me. Can you say that?
Yeah,
no. Do you know what I mean? It's a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Very select, exclusive group.
Exclusive. That's the word I'm looking for. So that alone was an achievement in itself, and it's still wild to think that, because it was just amazing. Like the village, you know, like, yeah, again, we were home, so all the GB team was, you know, we had track, boxing, that was Joshua, Anthony, you know, like that wave of just kind of, we were winning, we were doing great. So even that we weren't, we were just supporting everyone, you know, good job. Like, you know, you see each other in the dinner, and that in itself was a winning experience.
What were some of the highlights for you of the Olympics off the court?
Off the court,
I mean, did you get to spend time with family?
Yeah, we had like a little room that we would come off, because it was by Stratford. Yeah. You know, and we would come up and see them, but not a lot. It was quite like, it was very focused. There was all you can eat, anything you want, 24 hours, McDonald's, everything. We did not touch McDonald's till the last game.
I was going to say, like, how are the Olympic Games like having McDonald's for the athletes? Like,
but they say like people really like ruin their bodies, and like
really?
Like especially the poorer nations, they come and they've never had all you can eat. Do you know what I mean? They come, you can have some people come, you can have any surgery. You can have pretty much as like a gold mine of, here you go.
Really?
Yeah, so...
Did you say surgery?
Yeah, if you needed like, there's doctors, I got my eyes tested there. I swear.
I might as well take advantage of this.
Take advantage of it. It's free, right? And especially like from the lower countries that don't have any of this healthcare or why not? You're an Olympian, sort me out.
Yeah.
So all you can eat was amazing. There was like hairdressers and get your nails done on the village. Yeah. Loads of free stuff. We got, you know, all the sponsors gave us a bunch of stuff. So it was really just collecting stuff.
I guess from a UK specific standpoint, the media coverage that the basketball got around the Olympics was crazy compared to what previously we're used to. Well, what we are now, and what we were used to before. You know, then, I'll always remember the Olympic test event that they did before the Olympics in
the USA game.
Nah, there was they did a tournament it was like the test the facility in 2011 where GB played with, like, China were there, the men played China, and Australia came.
Were we there?
No.
Oh, it was a men's thing.
It was a men's thing.
Okay.
But going there.
Yeah.
And just, there was like so many cameras, like so many media, and I was just like,
it's unreal.
I've never seen this before in my life. And then I think at that point was when I really realised how much of a big deal it was going to be, and how much of a big deal, well, it could be as a catalyst to grow the game here. Right. Obviously, you know, unfortunately, I don't think that's really happened how many people expected. But
then also it was just like people coming out to watch the game for the first time.
Yeah.
Like how the Olympic tickets was that lottery kind of thing.
Yeah.
So people were like, well, we've got basketball tickets, I guess we're going. And I spoke to so many people. That was my first game, and that was amazing. That was exciting. That's not what I was expecting. I was on the edge of my seat, and especially our games, there were nail biters. So it was so nice to see so many new faces to the game that
just exposed so many more people to the game, didn't it? Yeah.
Right. And
100%.
how more exciting, because you watch a football game, okay, 2 goals, woo. Basketball, constant, boom, boom, boom. And that's what people were like, I didn't know how exciting it is, you know? So I was really happy for people to at least be exposed and to see the game.
Yeah, I've always found that anytime I take a new person that's never experienced basketball to a basketball game for the first time,
love it.
Always positive. Yeah, it's always like, oh, I'd love to do this again. It's just they just haven't been exposed to it.
But even when the NBA comes here, packed out, the tickets are. I've got friends like, hey, can you get tickets? They're already sold out. I'm like, what? Is it November next
January,
year? January, sorry. Sold out.
Yeah, they sell out in like 10 minutes.
Is that?
It's mad.
Why is that?
Well, I mean,
because the NBA is coming. So what's the difference about watching a men's game or a women's game here?
Yeah, I just there's just a lot of stuff that needs to be done around it. So when you graduate, I was asking about the transition into being professional. When you finished your senior year, so was that summer was the Olympics?
Yes.
As you graduated, so you did the Olympics.
Yes.
When did you sign your first? Because was your first deal in Spain?
Yeah. So I left. I left school.
Yeah.
Went to the Olympics. Yeah, and then I signed at Zamora, small club. I got an agent from my assistant coach from Florida. It was her agent for many years. And I signed there, and it was difficult. It was hard. It was a very, very small town, and it just wasn't developing me the way I wanted it to. The practices were very simple and very kind of just like, shoot 200 shots, do what you want. And so I was like, yeah, I just don't think everyone's first year. I have a teammate on the GB team. Her first year was really bad. And then I said, look, just try one more year. Your first year, it's like they don't respect you. I mean, you're a baby here, go here. And I went to this tiny team. And also, yet again, I still speak to those girls to this day. But it just wasn't for me. And I knew that this wasn't working and it wasn't going to propel me to the next level of pro. So I left. And then I came back to England and I played a couple months with Barking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems forever ago. And then I played a few months with Barking just to stay, ready. Mark knew that a contract would be coming pretty soon and when I need to leave. And he was fine with that. And I felt myself a bit frustrated here, playing here. But then I just kind of dedicated to just getting myself right, helping the girls. And then I left to Hungary to play playoffs. So then kind of went from there.
When you think about your expectations of being a professional compared to the realities, how did the two differ, if at all?
I don't know. Well, it's cool because it's different. Like, you're getting paid to play. So then you've never been paid before.
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't a lot. But still, you don't have any bills, right? They pay for your apartment. They pay for your car. And you get money in your pocket, and there'll be some free meals. You get to travel the country that you live in. What's wrong with that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's great, because I've been paid in education. I've been paid in the Olympics. You know what I mean? You've been paid in, things to keep building you up, but now I'm actually getting money in my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which must be a mad thing in itself. You're just like, I'm actually playing basketball and getting paid.
It's a job.
Yeah.
And some countries take it so seriously that it's a government job. So if the team folds, the government pays you out.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I can do this. And it kind of just flourished from there. So then when I went to Hungary, it was another small town. I struggled but loved it. This was my first experience of European, like, kind of them supporting a team. They would be there before we would get there. They're drunk, they've got their drums, they're ready to roll. And I was like, wow, I could do that. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And then so I played there, and then Peter Buckle was then the coach for GB, Australian.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And so then that year finished, and he was like, mate, I want you to come out and play with me in Australia.
Yeah.
And that's how that kind of came about because he wanted me to get ready for the next, I think the Euros was the next tournament.
Yeah.
I think my memory. Yeah. So then he wanted me to be with him and be coached by him. So then boom, into the Euros, we were ready. So that's how the Australia, kind of the team came about, which was an amazing experience.
Really?
If you can play in Australia, play in Australia. It's expensive to live.
Yeah.
But they've just got this perfect balance of basketball and social life.
Yeah.
Like I had 3 practices a week, 2 individuals and a game on the weekend, and go to the pub and the beach on Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, wow, but it's a very short season.
Yeah.
It's only 6 months, I think even shorter now, 5 months or something like that. But the Aussies have really got a nice mix, and that's why they've got some players who are 40. You know what I mean? They don't overdo you, but the work that you do is quality.
Yeah.
Get your individual work in, and so I had a great time out there. Really nice.
It's funny. I do feel like in the UK and America we have this. It's just work all the time at all costs, every hour. It's just stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think there's a whole different way to get success out of your players, to longevity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this whole 3-4 hours in the gym, and it's just, and your mind, even if you have the strongest mind, it's tough. You start switching up. What am I gonna have for dinner? I don't want to be here anymore. You don't want that. And that's why I think I did. The Latvian coach was so successful at that. Just like, I'm not here to drill you and kill you. Let's get the work. Make sure it's short and sweet. And if we get everything done, we can go. And I think that those are the team. This whole running suicides and all this in season. I've heard people flipping tires, still pushing cars in season. What? You get, you train up, you do your pre-season, and now you just got to kind of, you live through it, you get your body right. But I'm not a fan of the Nazi style at all. I don't work well under those conditions, and I've had that. I've been many hours and just being grinded into the ground, and it's tough. And then you got to wake up and do it again. That makes it hard. Being a professional.
I was going to say that a lot of people seem to have horror stories from professional basketball in Europe mainly. Yeah. Are there any stories that stick out for you, whether it's not getting paid or some crazy coach or?
I was quite fortunate. I got pretty much all my money. They might have we'll pay you in a couple of days. Like I pretty much got my money, which was good. Coaching wise, I had a hell. And when I think about it, I'm like, so stupid, but I had a really tough coach in Spain, my Logroño years, and really tough, and just kind of didn't get me. And this was the first time that a coach wasn't letting me be me. And so I struggled through the year. We did all right. I played all right. And then I tear my calf in that summer. So I was rehabbing, getting back, and then I was waiting for a job. And I was just like, I know it's probably going to come late because I've been injured. And he calls me on my phone personally. He doesn't go through my agent. He calls me. He's like, Hazy, I was like, you want me to come back, don't you? And he was like, yeah, we've got this space and blah, blah, blah. And I thought at this time, I was like, man, I'm coming back from the injury. I should probably wait. But I was thinking, man, I know the girls. I know the city. I'm going back. So I go back, and it's probably the worst thing I ever did. Yeah. He just it was a mental game. I got mentally abused. You know what I mean? He would put me out there, he would start, and this was a difficult time. It was a different mindset. I had to be perfect, where before, obviously, I had to be ready, make sure, that, like I've spoken about, but this one was, I couldn't laugh, I couldn't smile, I couldn't feel, I wasn't me. And the girls knew it, and they rallied behind me like, you're all right, you can do this. But it was horrible. It was a really bad mental game of you're a joke. And then it affected me, and he wasn't playing me till the second quarter and just disrespected me. And so there are stories, but then again, it's who I am. I've learned from that. Yeah. That, I know what I bring to the table. I know what I'm worth. And then that's, like I said, that was my year before this year. So I told my agent, look, don't come with me with no, foolishness. I want a good job. Yeah. And this Latvia job came up. There were Euro Cup at the time, now Euro League. And yeah, I'm really happy that that's where I finished.
Do you have any regrets about, when you look back on your career, not playing EuroLeague? You didn't play EuroLeague in the end.
No, that's my only non-accomplishment. Like, that's not. Yeah. And really, I could have done it if I went back this year.
Yeah.
The team made it to EuroLeague. So proud of them. Yeah.
No regrets about that? No part of you thinks, I could do this season and get the EuroLeague under my belt?
That's the only thing that's missing from my resume.
Yeah.
And it would have happened this year. But am I sad about it?
It feels like it feels like
I played Eurocup. I mean, EuroLeague is prestigious. It's up there. It's the top women are playing.
Yeah.
But it would have been sacrificed this year. I would have had to play this year, and so it's either. It
feels like you're just fully ready to step away.
Yeah, I am, and I'm really happy about it too. Like, I'm not. I love the game, and I knew it's like, at the end of I feel like people shouldn't do. They finish the season and they retire. Like, you need the Kobe farewell tour. You know what I mean? Like, you should prepare yourself the whole season.
Yeah.
And I said at the beginning of my Latvian season last year, I said, this is potentially my last season. And so I prepped for it. And so every day was kind of like, this is your last day, Z. Just grind it. This is potentially your last game. Boom. The Commonwealth Games. This is, you know what I mean? So I feel like if you are getting at that spot and that time, I feel you should take the season to fully transition out. And I'm more than happy. I'm so happy that I didn't resign. And just different life experience. People just, you grow, and obviously my fiance plays as well. And it's just kind of, I wanted to support him, and I wanted to be just different, just growing up, I guess.
So I'm aware of time, so we'll look to start wrapping up. A couple more questions though.
Yeah.
First one would be advice to younger players.
Yeah.
There's lots of young female players all over the country that kind of look at where you are now, and they want to have that. They want to have that career. They want to, go to the States and get a scholarship and be a professional basketball player, play for GB. What advice would you give to them? Like, what would you say to them to sort of give them a best chance of succeeding?
I think fundamentals. You have to work on the small things. Everyone like scoring, but you have to catch the ball. Like, being a big post player, they throw some wild passes. I tell people all the time, you don't have to score it. The pressure is not scoring it, it's catching it. And just catching it alone brings the defense, right? But it's just, my advice is just, you have to love it, because it's a lot of hours. Being a professional, being an athlete in college, it's dedication. It's a full-time job. And so it's really about, do you really want to do this? Can you see yourself committing? Like, and that's the thing. It's like, there is no advice. What should I tell you in a magic formula, and you're going to be great and you're going to have the success and what I've done. It's just every day. It's literally a grind of training, lifting, eating right, doing well, and being. And also the mental, now more and more the mental part of the game is coming in, but it really is being in touch with yourself. Like, can I do this? Am I hurting? Do I need to, reach out? It's a lot. So for younger girls coming up, it's fundamentals for sure. Dribbling, catching. And now the game's changed. You got the 6 foot, 4 or 5 in the men's game, the big guys handling the rock, and for me, 3 dribbles is my limit. 1, 2, where's my point guard? Help me out. You know what I mean? And now it's changing. You've got the handles. So it's all fundamentals for me.
Do you get to sort of keep tabs on any younger British players coming through at all?
The younger girls that come up with GB, I usually keep tabs with. I don't really look at too many elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it's more the younger girls. I try and get under my belt and just wing and help them, because I've been there, and it's like the cliche thing, but if I didn't have a GB person telling me, you should do this, you should do that, and don't worry, and people get so worked up about missing a shot. It's like, don't worry about it. You're gonna miss more than you make. So if you know that from the jump, why are you mad?
Yeah.
Get back on defense. Like, so now the younger ones are the ones that with GB.
I feel like you quite enjoy, the impression that I get is that you quite enjoy the sort of the mentorship side of things. Going into schools, talking to kids, kind of telling your story. Do you feel like sort of you know, in the future you want to do a lot of giving back stuff, coming back here, you know, potentially working with sort of younger national team players and stuff?
Yeah, I try when I'm home. I try and at least do something, you know. I don't know what my next step of my transition is, but I'm more than happy. I always do it. You know, I don't, you know, there's some people like, do you want to charge a fee? I'm like, no, it's not about the money for me.
Yeah.
It's really about just showing where I came from and what I did and how I did it, and just sharing my story alone is advice and helping. And you know, every person I reach out to or whatever, I'm just like, hey, if you need anything, message me, you know, DM me, here's my number, whatever. Because there's so many different aspects that I can help them with that I've already lived, and some things that I can't, but I'm I'm here, I'm a sister, I can help you out.
Yeah.
So that's what more for me, it's just being a friend and somebody you feel comfortable being able to discuss whatever.
And then final question, in, you know, 15, 20 years time, when people look back and they talk about about Azania, they talk about Z as a player and who she was, like, you know, what do you want people to say? What do you want your legacy to be?
That she just worked hard and you know, great. I think my leadership is probably the biggest thing that I, you know, put myself on. That's such a hard question, because it's quite like, what do you want to be seen as? But I just want to be seen as, you know, a girl from North London who had a dream, you know, who just worked hard and man, this is a really difficult question. What's my legacy? I don't know. I hope my actions just speak for itself, you know, and obviously the medal is in the history, the Olympic Games, boom, Azania Stewart's up there. So it's just really, that's such a hard question.
Well, that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Z, thank you so much for coming through, and thank you for your career and everything you've done for British basketball. It is massively appreciated.
Thank you.
You're a superstar.
And November 17th. I don't know if this will go out before it, but if not,
we'll be there.
Yeah.
Cool.
You'll be there, right?
I will be there.
Good.
Cool.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.